All right, is it the offense's problem? Is it the front office's problem? Is it the Brewers are playing out of their minds, and that's the problem? We're going to attack all those things right now here on the Setup Man podcast. I've got good friend Cody Delmendo here on the show with us today, and we're going to just have a conversation about this broken offense. First of all, Cody, welcome in. Thanks for joining, man.
Yeah, it's good to be back, man. It's been a while. A big supporter of your channel and love all the content and the community that you've built over here. And yeah, I'm excited to be here and talk with you. Maybe not talk about how things are right now, but just happy to have a conversation.
Yeah, well, and you know, just because the elephant in the room is the elephant in the room. I mean, you know, you had some tough times at CHGO. We don't have to get into that. You go and start your own channel, but the outroaring pour of just support was pretty cool from my perspective to see. I mean, I've been following you since end of 2022. So to see that, you know, you had this really loyal following that came over to now your show, which, by the way, guys, we're going to link his YouTube channel in the description. If you're not following Cody, he does a great show, Wrigleyville Forever, with a good friend of mine as well, Blake Cowell. Go check it out. It's awesome. But that had to be a good feeling just to see the support.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be a little vulnerable here. It was heartbreaking with everything that happened at CHGO. I think people probably already knew that, but just to say it, like, to be completely blunt about it, it was heartbreaking. But and I honestly thought about being done with doing content. And then when I had people reach out to me after the news came out and ask me to like keep doing what I do, like they appreciate me all this and that, it meant a lot. And so when I decided to make that new YouTube channel and then start my own show, and you know, Blake is someone that has been, I feel like I've been a mentor for the last year and a half or so. We had this sports creative event at CHGO for people interested in getting into content and just sports media in general, like a month or two ago. And Blake, who lives in St. Louis, came all the way up on a Wednesday night, and then drove home after that. And like, to me, that was so telling into how committed he is into getting into sports media or, you know, content, whatever route he wants to go. In this day and age, you can kind of do whatever you want now, right? But yeah, so when he told me that he wanted to help me with this, like, I immediately was like, I know this guy will be reliable. I know he'll be consistent, and I know that he cares. So I'm happy to be doing it with him. And I even got two like producers, Luke and Lucas. One's in college, one's out of college, and they just wanted to help build. They were fans of me, and they just wanted to help build. So it's kind of I made my own little team out of it, out of nowhere. And yeah, the channel's done well so far, man. It's, you know, despite how frustrating the team has been, I think people still come to me for therapy, I guess, when the team isn't playing well, and for celebrations and beer bats when the team is playing good. So far it's been a lot of fun, and looking to do some more interesting stuff on there as time goes on. But I think we're off to a good start. Cool.
Well, very happy to see that, and excited to see as that channel progresses. Guys, once again, go down to the description. But let's just give a lay of the land right now, Cody, because, you know, like you said, the team has been frustrating to watch recently. Just how frustrating? Well, on June 17th, the Cubs had a commanding 6.5 game lead over the Brewers, and now they have a disgusting 7.5 game deficit against those same Brewers. I'm in the camp of, I don't care how the Brewers have been playing. I'm not disgusted about the standings. I'm disgusted about the type of baseball. Even if the Brewers were still playing like this, and the Cubs in, you know, call it the month of August, however many games they played, somewhere around 12 games, 11 games. If they were, you know, 8-3, 7-4, oh well, right? It's the Brewers. What are you going to do? They're having a magical season. They are having kind of the definition of a World Series winning season, where just like stuff is just going right for them all the time. You heard Anthony Rizzo probably on Johnny Manziel's podcast talk about, like, everything went right for us in 2016. You have to get lucky. The Brewers are getting lucky. They're getting very lucky. So I'm not mad about that. I'm upset that this team looks completely deflated. And last night, I think that was encompassed in 2 Dansby Swanson errors. Hasn't made 2 errors in a game since 2022. Where, just for you, just starting off, where does your frustration most come from right now? Is it the front office not doing anything at the deadline? Is it the Brewers? Is it the offense just looking like crap? Is it the defense? Where is the core of the frustration for you?
I could rank them all for you.
So all the above.
I think number one frustration is how they're. I guess you could say how they're playing in general. Like I said on Wrigleyville Forever the other night, like they're not playing well on the margins. You know, they've had games where they've gotten hits. What, that Sunday night game against the Cardinals, they had 8 hits. And they scored 2 runs.
Yeah.
And because it's largely because they didn't play well in the margins. PCA stealing second base, then gets picked off second. There was an inning earlier in the game where they had, it was the first inning, I think. They had 2 guys on. I know there were 2 outs, but PCA with 3-0 count swings at it. He's slumping. I actually said in the moment that, like, because we were doing a watch along on the channel, I said, 3-0 count. He's slumping. Like maybe give him the green light and see if like that gets him out of it. I end up being wrong about it. Maybe in hindsight, now I'm like, okay, maybe he shouldn't have swung. I know there's a lot of conversation about that the last couple of days, but either way, they haven't been able to get the big hit with runners in scoring position, and they also haven't been able to do just the little things when they actually have runners on base, whether that's having a guy on second base and getting him to third base on a ground ball to the right side. You know what I mean? Like
they were doing so well in April and May.
Right. Like just the little things, like again, the marginal things, they're not doing well right now. Mm-hmm. And I mean, last night in Toronto, like the one inning that early on, not being able to score any runs when they got like the first couple guys on, it's that's just situational hitting, not playing well in the margins, whatever you want to call it, all of that combined. I think that's probably been my most frustrating thing. And I'm also frustrated about the Brewers because like they were 500 for the first 2 months of the year, and now they're playing like 800 ball. Like this cannot be sustainable. Like it might be like finally their World Series year or whatever, but they legitimately playing close to 800 ball, and like that's unheard of, man. Absolutely unheard of. And for a team that has the payroll that they have, and they do nothing in the offseason outside of picking up Jose Quintana in spring training, and Shelby Miller at the deadline. Oh, and Andrew Vaughn going from one of the worst players in the league to Barry Bonds. Like it's
crazy.
I don't really care if it makes me look like a meatball fan or just just a salty fan. Like, yeah, I'm salty about it. It makes no sense whatsoever that all of those things have played out. Not many teams around the league can just do nothing and then still find a way to consistently be good. Not only be consistently be good, but be the best team in baseball. It makes no sense. And so, yeah, I am really frustrated about it. I don't think the Cubs gave the division away. It's just because, again, they've been playing 500 ball for like 2.5 months, but the Brewers have been playing 800 ball. So, yeah, this is bound to happen. And I was just patiently waiting for them to cool down some, and they just haven't. I don't know if it will happen. And all I can do is just put my hands up and just give them credit. Unfortunately, it doesn't. Andrew Vaughn thing is the most annoying thing about it too, because it was the most like you knew it was going to happen. When that trade happened with the White Sox, you just knew it, because I've thought that about half the White Sox roster that was supposed to be part of their winning window. I thought as soon as all those guys got out that they would go on and do something great. And Andrew Vaughn, again, is looking like Barry Bonds right now, dude. It's insane. Insane.
It's crazy. And, I kind of think about, I don't follow Brewers Twitter, nor should I, but I'm just thinking to myself, when you look at this team and they do nothing at the deadline and we do just enough to not say that we didn't do anything at the deadline, and you call both of their deadlines basically a loser deadline, but one team goes into the dumper and the other team just continues to excel. Now winners of their last 11 games, only team since the 1935 Cubs to have 2 11-game win streaks in a season, just FYI. I think of fan expectations and how that could weigh on players, because when you think of the Brewers, what does their fan base care? They know what they are. They know they are the quote unquote Rays of the National League, which by the way, the Rays are about to be called the Brewers of the American League because it's getting to that point. So as fans, like you don't expect them to do anything, I would assume, right? So when a deadline comes and goes and your team is, in first place and playing good ball and all you get is Shelby Miller, you kind of say, meh, sounds like about right. But the Cubs go and still have a shot at getting into competition for the division at the deadline, and they did what they did, and all of our fans are up in arms. I'm guessing the players probably feel that as well in the tension within the ballpark, on social media, and all those things. And you know what, though? I'm not making an excuse for the team, and I'm not saying that the fans shouldn't do that. I am saying at some point, this front office has to realize they have to pick a side. They have to either be the player development or they have to be we're going to spend all the money and make all the trades. They can't live in the middle on this stuff. They don't have good player development and they don't make good trades and make good decisions on free agent signings. So when you're just gray in both those waters, well, you get 83 and 79 seasons and massive meltdowns in 3 consecutive years, basically.
Yeah.
I'm kind of just ranting. I don't have a question for that, but do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, so while you were talking, it reminded me of this reel I saw on Instagram from this great baseball account called Just Baseball. They have great podcasts.
Yeah.
His name is Aram. I forget his last name. Aram Langton, I think his last name is. Anyway, in the reel, they're talking about the Cubs and like how their deadline just didn't make sense to them. Because obviously most of the discourse since the trade deadline as winners and losers of the deadline, largely most big outlets have said something along the lines of the Cubs being losers of the deadline.
Mm-hmm.
And to go with what you're saying, he was talking about how it doesn't make sense that the Cubs would trade Cam Smith in like 6 years of Cam Smith, 4 years of Isaac Paredes, and however many years of Hayden Wesneski he had left for 1 year of Kyle Tucker. But they're not going to go all in at this trade deadline and go and add whatever, even if it would have been a massive overpay, which it would have been if the rumored Mackenzie Gore trade that I saw surface on Cubs Twitter was real. And whatever, however serious they were about Joe Ryan or Edward Cabrera, Sandy Alcantara, whoever, right? If the price of all these guys were what it is, I am glad that they didn't make a trade for a controllable arm, because I would have been incredibly pissed off if they traded Cade Horton and Matt Shaw plus prospects for Mackenzie Gore. I would have been very upset, right? So I guess my overall thoughts of just like how the organization's being ran, it kind of resides with you, but also is like they should be what they've kind of been in terms of player development and drafting well and all. Like they need to do that. Like every team in baseball needs to do that if you want to have long-term success. But that trade deadline, all it really did was just kind of reinforce just how ownership is with this organization to me. And that's nothing I can say. Like there's nothing I can say or do that's going to make anyone feel better about it. It's just the fact of the matter, man. Like we got Carter Hawkins going on telling Jesse Rogers, we care about the 2025 Cubs, but we also care about the 2032 Cubs. And it's like I want long-term sustained success. I want to be in the playoff race every year. Absolutely. I absolutely do. But
83 wins is not success.
Right. You guys haven't made the playoffs in 7 years of a 162 season. No Cubs fan cares about 2020. Like no one cares. That season was weird, all this stuff, right? So it's been since 2018, and that was you just played in one wild card game. That was it. And everyone they won 95 games that year, and everyone looked at that season as a massive disappointment. The standard for the organization has come down so far since then. And I think the potential lockout in 2027 could play a massive part in how ownership is acting. I also am just, I think this season, like Tom's pretty happy with what he's getting this season. People are engaged. People are watching. People are angry or happy because of what the team is doing. I genuinely don't know if he really cares that much about a winning team. He just wants people to watch, and he wants to do it at his price. Maybe that's a hot take. Maybe that's just me being a fan.
Oh,
that's how it feels, though. You know what I mean? That's how it feels. It feels like Tom only cares if he can do it at his price. The fact that they are $30 million below the first tier luxury tax with how much money that they make and how much they charge for concessions and being one of the most expensive baseball experiences in the league is a joke, dude. And so we can talk about the trade deadline and how the lack of moves there, talk about which kind of organization they should be, whether it's a player development one or one that spends a lot of money. You can go back to the offseason and we can sit here. And even though they traded for Kyle Tucker and you made some moves and you had some of the, you signed Matthew Boyd on a deal that not many fans were super excited about, and it's turned out to be great. Great. You did some good moves, and I went into spring training think this team could be good. But also, like, the whole starting pitcher thing, like, you didn't even call Max Fried, you know? Yeah, and they had to have known that an injury related to Justin Steele could happen because it's happened every season.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know if you could have predicted Tommy John or whatever, the worst injury you could have imagined for him this year. But we all sat in the offseason, I'm sure you did, thinking they needed to add another starting pitcher.
Oh, 100%.
And then they didn't. And they sold off Bellinger, which I thought from a roster perspective was fine. But then it was expected that you were going to spend that money at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
And so, like, all of it's a culmination of frustration that I have related to who owns the Chicago Cubs. Him and Crane Kenny, the head of business operations. Because it's like, if we're not making money, then what is Crane Kenny not doing, man? Because, again, they are making so much money. I live 2 miles away from Wrigley Field. They are making so much money. I don't care what anyone says.
I wonder what Crane Kenny does. I also wonder what Carter Hawkins does, aside from just put his foot in his mouth.
Right.
I don't know if you remember, there was another episode I think he had with Jesse Rogers where it was right when the Cubs were like really struggling against lefties, and Carter just looked at the overall numbers the entire season and says, well, it looks to me like our strength is hitting against lefties. I'm like, you have no feel, dude. No feel. Anyway, I want to go into.
Let me, not to interrupt you, but that's kind of like when you talk about, you said earlier something about, the Brewers do nothing, yet they're still playing well. They do nothing. Well, all these things. I do think that, and maybe it's, you can't measure it, but the overall, like, or the Cubs organizational, like how they look at things in many ways, it's like analytics or die for them. There's no feel. Like you just said, there's no feel, and listen, I'm glad that they use analytics because I remember a time when the Cubs were so behind everyone else, and that's why they were so bad for so long, well before the World Series year. But like, I do think that there's something to say about having a little feel, that's why I kind of defended Justin Turner for as long as I did. When everyone wanted him DFA'd, like, I felt like that clubhouse presence meant something. I felt like his playoff experience could help them down the road. They needed him to be better, no doubt. But like, from a feel perspective, it just felt like Justin Turner being here made a lot of sense. You don't have to go to Fangraphs or Baseball Reference and see that, his OPS is in the 600s or whatever and tell me all this. I understand all that. But from a clubhouse perspective, a human perspective, to me, it always made sense that he was here. And so that's why I look at this team and an organization as a whole sometimes. And I'm like, man, they just lean on analytics so much for everything. And right now it feels like that too, because Craig Counsell is just kind of, when things aren't going well, Craig, like the hate for Craig Counsell just, it goes so high. And I don't really know what to tell fans. It's just like, he's just doing the same thing that he's always doing. And again, there's a whole conversation about him that could be had.
I got a good stat for you. We just found this out. Credit to my co-host Ty Lewin on this one. How many times do you think Craig Counsell was ejected in his time with the Brewers?
Man, he was there for what? 7?
It was
6.
It's like 6 or 7 years.
6 or 7 years. I'd say 8 times, maybe.
33.
33 times?
33 times. Yep. He was ejected 33 times with the Brewers. Guess how many times he's been ejected with the Cubs?
Less than 10. Maybe like what, 6, maybe 5 times.
5.
Yeah, 5.
And 2 of those happened on back-to-back days this year.
Yeah.
It's again, like, I'm just a big believer in leadership goes down with gravity, and the leadership from Tom goes down to Jed, goes down to Carter, goes down to Craig, and it's just this laissez-faire of like, well, we just want to be good. We just want to see how the numbers, if we just keep throwing the same thing out there again and again, eventually it's going to work. And I don't know, man. It's the organization really. The title that I have down below is that the offense is broken. Really, the organization overall does feel very broken. And especially when Jed gets an extension a week before the biggest trade deadline in Cubs. I would say Tom Ricketts, second biggest in Tom Ricketts' history. And to just see that was gifted as like, hey, you put in your time and we're in first place and here you go. It just says a lot. Okay, let's make a sharp right over to the offense.
Okay.
Got some numbers for you here. It's pretty wild.
Great.
First 96 games of the year, Cody, which was going up to the All-Star break. So the first half of the season, the Cubs were 57-39. They were scoring 5.3 runs per game. And their slash line as a team was 256. In today's game is pretty good. 325 on base and a 446 slug. That comes out to be a 771 OPS. Since the break, which is a total of 22 games. Yeah, 22 games. Scoring 4 runs per game. So they're down 1.3 runs per game. Their slash line is now 239. For some reason, I cut this off. 239, 309, and 380 something, which comes out to be under 700. So they have lost over 20 points on the batting average, and they have lost over 50 points on the OPS in the last 22 games for only scoring 4 runs per game. You feel like the entire offense is slumping, and the answer to that is in clutch situations it is. Let's go ahead and quote Sahadev Sharma. Last night, the Cubs went 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Since June 4th, they have a 220 batting average with runners in scoring position, which is 29th in baseball. So, yes, it feels like the entire offense is slumping because we're not getting the big hit. But when you really do the numbers here, you dig in deep, there's really 4 guys that are carrying the load since the All-Star break. And I'll just do very quickly their OPSs. Pete Crow Armstrong, since the All-Star break, 668 OPS. Then you've got Seiya Suzuki, since the All-Star break, 587 OPS. The guy that we could not believe did not make the All-Star team. 587. Michael Busch, 528 OPS. He's batting 158 since the All-Star break. And Kyle Tucker, your rental that is probably adios after this year. Although after the way he's been playing, he's probably going to come back and we're going to probably give him a Cody Bellinger type of deal. 212 batting average and a 669 OPS. When these guys are not hitting, you're basically top 4 in the lineup. It just puts more pressure on the rest of the lineup. And of course, they're going to struggle in clutch situations because instead of being up 4-2 in the 8th inning and being free and easy and getting the base hit with runners in scoring position when you're batting number 8 or number 9 in the lineup, now you're behind 2-1 and you're putting pressure on yourself because you're now feeling like you have to be the number 3, the number 4 batter because your 1 through 4 batters just can't get the job done. That's where I think I'm at. One of those guys has to figure it out. If one guy figures it out, I think the rest of them do. And there's been flashes, but at this point, like, what do you do with this offense?
Well, and I know a lot of fans, and maybe even you, Kyle, would like them to call up Owen Casey or Moises Ballesteros or both of them. But what I think we're not going to see them until the minor league season is over because they could call one of them up today. And if they did, I would be excited. But if they're not in the lineup, then I'm just going to be mad. You know what I mean? And right now, you look at it, it's like, okay, you go, if you're going to call up Owen Casey, then just admit that you basically let Kyle Tucker play through an injury. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just like we don't know, like this whole finger thing. And I know he hit a ball off his knee, fouled a ball off his knee sometime within the last month. Like, listen, man, I am surprised that he has continued to play through this because he's playing for the biggest contract of his life.
Yep.
This is, I didn't watch a lot of Houston Astros baseball, but what the bill of goods I was sold about Kyle Tucker is that he's not a guy who goes through long-term slumps. And I mean, he has 1 homer since the beginning of July.
It's crazy.
You know? And like he's got as many homers as Dansby Swanson. And I've been obviously a massive supporter of this guy. I want the Cubs to keep him long term. Even today, because I do think that he will get it figured out. But how the Cubs do medicals, history shows, Dansby Swanson last year, they let him play through an injury for God knows how long. Then they finally put him on the injured list, came back, had a hot second half, was a lot better, right? Nico Horner played through an injury last year. Somehow, some way, was still worth 3.5 to 4 WAR. Maybe those are different, but I think about Ben Zobrist in 2017. That was bad. Like, I get it. Guys want to play through injuries. They have too much pride, all this and that. I remember talking to Ethan Roberts about it at a Club 400 event last September. Like, he told me like the respect that guys have for guys who play through injuries and this and that. Like, it means a lot. And so, I mean, that's just one player telling me this or that, but from a human side, I get it. But from an organizational side, like, the Cubs have to see what Kyle Tucker is doing right now and think this guy could use a reset or something, man. Like, and with Seiya Suzuki and Michael Busch, at least they've kind of looked like it here the last couple days that they're coming out of it. Busch had the home run on Saturday, had a hit last night to drive in the 1 run the Cubs had. I don't think he should be hitting leadoff anymore, but that's another conversation. Seiya had that game against the Reds last week. Hasn't necessarily taken steps forward since then. I don't know, man. Like, those two guys, at the end of the day, like, they need to be better, but they don't have the expectations of a Kyle Tucker. And so, to me, all of this is about Kyle Tucker not performing right now.
Yeah.
And as a fan on the outside, it's like, all I can do is judge what I'm seeing on the field. I don't know if he's hurt, but I wouldn't be surprised if he is. Hopefully, him throwing his helmet last night lights a fire.
Yeah, but he took batting practice yesterday and threw his helmet. So, I mean, 2 things we haven't seen him do all year long. Yeah, I mean, to your point, we've seen Michael Busch have the high highs and the low lows. We've seen Seiya Suzuki look like an all-star one day and then look like a Miles Mastroboni the next day. Sorry, I know you like Miles Mastroboni. I had to put that out there. And then we've seen PCA. I mean, he's young. He's gonna make the base burning mistakes. He's gonna make the over-aggressive defensive mistakes. He's going to swing out of the zone. We have come to know that about him. So we expect those things. But to your point, Kyle Tucker hitting 1 home run in a 2-week period is a bad thing, let alone a 6-week period. It's just not. This team was not built to sustain a Kyle Tucker long-term slump. And I think about, you brought it up, if Moises Ballesteros, if Owen Casey were called up, yada, yada, yada. Moises Ballesteros was called up, and he has the biggest hit in the second half for the Cubs, and they rewarded him by saying, see ya, go back to Iowa. Meanwhile, we can't score any runs. You just had a huge hit. We could sure use a bat like yours, but we're going to choose to keep John Birdie on the roster. And then they finally get rid of John Birdie, and it was only because of the fact that Miguel Amaya is coming back up. I am in the camp, Cody, of, once again, just like, feel the situation.
Yeah.
John Birdie did not get any playing time in the months of half a month of June and July and all the way through August. But for some reason, we think that because he might be able to steal a base in a 1-run game in the 9th inning, which he couldn't do on Sunday, by the way, that's more valuable than Moises Ballesteros, who's back-to-back player of the year in the minor leagues, has the biggest hit, probably the second biggest hit of the year, but the biggest hit in the second half, and sparked the only 10-run game, I believe, in the second half so far for the Cubs against the first-place Brewers now. And we think that that guy deserves to be in the minor leagues for player development. Like he's proved that even when he was batting like whatever it was, like 180 something in his first stint with the Cubs, he put the ball in play almost every single at bat, and he lined out a bunch of times too. Like this guy is ready. I don't care that he doesn't have a position. You could say the same thing for John Birdie. He didn't have a position. Justin Turner barely has a position. Vidal Brujan lasted 100 plus days on our roster and lasted 4 days on the last place Baltimore Orioles roster. The feel for what makes an impact on a game is just it's not there.
Yeah.
It's just not there.
Yeah, and I will agree with you on that. Like again, like if they called up Ballesteros or Casey tomorrow, I would be excited about it. I just from watching them under this front office regime and Craig Counsell together, like they're gonna play the guys. I don't want to use the David Ross quote, but they're gonna play the guys that got them there, I think. And like in this particular instance, these particular guys are really good players. Like we're talking about PCA, Kyle Tucker, Ian Happ, Seiya Suzuki, right? Like maybe Ian Happ is the guy that should go to the platoon role and only hit against right-handed pitching and just hit lefty, right? Like if you want to call up Casey and throw him in left field or let him DH and put Seiya in left field, I would like to, if you're going to do it, play them on some form of a consistent level. Play them at multiple times a week. Do not just stash them on the bench like you did with Alexander Canario, you know? And Ballesteros, that he does make sense to be here out of the two more so, just because he actually has the biggest hit, like you said, in the second half. For him to get demoted the next day just made absolutely no sense at all. And like that's a moment like that happens against Milwaukee. You salvage a series, and then you send them back down when like that could have been the spark you needed going into that next stretch of games. And instead,
what does that send a message to the players too, right? Like, oh yeah, this guy just had a huge hit. Can't wait to see him the next day. Oh wait, you just packed his bags. Oh wow, okay. And then you did nothing at the trade deadline. Okay, cool. It's a good thing. It's a good thing I'm not the head of baseball ops, because I'd be thinking about 2025, not 2032. So I'll be thinking Carter and Jed in 7 years. All right, Cody, we're out of time here. Last thing is just what else would you like to say? And also, where can people follow you?
Cody _ Cubs on Twitter, Cody.Cubs on Instagram and TikTok. If you go to my Twitter and you want to follow me on anywhere else, or subscribe to stuff, I have a link tree in my bio. Wrigleyville Forever on YouTube. It's on all podcast platforms as well. The channel is just my name, but as Kyle said, you're gonna throw it in the description, so just go there. And we do shows 2 to 3 days a week. Do a lot of watch alongs during games so far. So we were riding the roller coaster, and unfortunately this roller coaster feels like it's going straight down right now, Kyle.
Final destination roller coaster right now.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much, Cody.
Absolutely, man.